You may wake up. Wake up! You okay, Tony? I'll see you day after tomorrow at the same time. Don't worry, my boy. Soon you'll be yourself. Your true self.
I Was a Teenage Werewolf is a 1957 science fiction horror film directed by Gene Fowler Jr. that would find box office success and influence pop culture. Michael Landon stars as Tony Rivers, a teenager attending high school in Southern California. Tony has a short temper that often gets him into trouble. A local police officer named Donovan, played by Barney Phillips, wants to help Tony and advises him that he go talk to a psychologist, Dr. Alfred Brandon, played by Whit Bissell.
Tony, I'm just trying to tell you that you need help.
What kind of help?
Well, there's a prominent doctor, Dr. Brandon. He's a consulting psychologist out at the aircraft plant. He's been working with the police department without charge, trying to help difficult kids adjust.
What's this adjust kick?
Polish off the rough edges. Adjust.
Adjust to what?
To everything. Teachers, parents, other students. You know, some kids have a tougher time than others, and it's not necessarily their fault. Now, this Dr. Brandon, well, he's modern. He uses hypnosis.
Oh, no. No head shrinker for me, thank you.
Tony gets support from his pretty girlfriend Arlene, played by Yvonne.
Everything all right, Tony?
Sure it is.
What did Officer Donovan say?
I don't want to talk about it. I've had enough yakety-yak to last me till the end of the term. Look, I'm sorry, Arlene. I say things, I do things, I don't know why. I try to control them, it's too late. I've gone too far. I don't know. I get a certain feeling, and I have to... I don't know. I just don't know.
Tony, you must try.
Yeah, I'll try. But not Donovan's way.
What's his way?
He wants me to go to this head shrinker, Dr. Brandon. Like I was a flip or something.
Is that the way he said it?
No, he sprinkled a little sugar on it. But I'm not having any, thank you.
Oh, Tony.
Tony's widowed father, Charles, played by Malcolm Atterbury, is also disturbed by his son's temper.
Who was it today?
What's the difference?
Your principal called, said it was your fault.
Why does she bother you?
Because I'm your father. She said I'm supposed to discipline you. I told her at home you never needed discipline, not even when your mother was alive.
I don't know why she has to drag you into it.
Look, boy, you missed the point.
Well, if you know, tell me.
Sometimes you just have to do things the way people want them done. That makes them happy and they leave you alone. I used to have a foreman like that. Every time I assembled a motor my way, he beefed. But when I assembled it...
Dad, I don't like to be pushed around.
Tony, sometimes you just have to do it the other fellow's way. Well, I gotta be going. Sorry I can't eat with you. Night shift again. Oh, there are a couple of lamb chops in the icebox. I seasoned them the way you like. Just set them in the pan.
Dad, I can cook a chop.
And be sure you cook them. Don't eat them raw like you did the hamburger yesterday.
After he snaps at a Halloween party in front of a large group of people, Tony finally decides to go see Dr. Brandon. Dr. Brandon decides that Tony's troubled history makes him a great subject for his experimental serum that he has developed that regresses personalities back to primitive instincts. Brandon's assistant, Dr. Hugo Wagner, played by Joseph Mell, protests that the experiment might kill Tony, but Dr. Brandon injects Tony anyway, telling him that it's a sedative to prepare him for hypnosis.
Alfred, do you realize the possible consequences?
I realize one thing, that at last, after years of searching, I found a suitable person for my experiment. His record at school, what the school principal told me, and what I learned from Detective Sergeant Donovan gives him the proper, disturbed, emotional background I need.
During hypnosis, Brandon draws out Tony's traumatic childhood memories and suggests to Tony that he was once a wild animal.
To run over the hills in the moonlight, to hide by the stream, to wait in silence until...
No.
Remember how wonderful it was when you sprang suddenly, dug in with your fangs, a soft throat, the gush of warm blood?
No!
Yes. I want you to remember. You must remember.
Soon, a high schooler is attacked and killed while walking home from a party near the woods. Donovan and Police Chief Baker, played by Robert Griffin, are perplexed when they notice fang marks on the victim. The police station janitor, Pepe, played by Vladimir Sokolov, is a native of the Carpathian Mountains in Europe and recognizes the marks as being those of a werewolf.
Do you mind if I take a look at that picture?
You knew the boy?
Once in a while I played pinochle with his father. Very small stakes. Yes, I knew the boy, but perhaps I have a better reason. Let me see the picture.
You're not to say anything about this to anyone, understand?
It's going on 12 years that I'm working here. Have I ever said a word?
What's the matter? You see something we missed?
The poor boy. Poor boy.
Pepe, I don't blame you for being upset. Imagine how his family feels.
I know what killed him.
You do?
He was killed by a werewolf.
Tony begins to notice that something feels different about himself. When he passes by the gymnasium after school and sees a girl named Teresa, played by Dawn Richard, practicing gymnastics by herself, the school bell rings, and he transforms into a werewolf. He savagely attacks, killing her. As the police issue an arrest warrant for Tony, Donovan and Officer Chris Stanley, played by Guy Williams, investigate Dr. Brandon and hope to get to the werewolf before it is too late. Samuel Z. Arkoff wrote in his memoirs that he got a lot of resistance for producing a film that portrayed a teenager becoming a monster, an idea that had never been exploited in movies before. Shooting began February 13, 1957, and ended just 6 days later. This is the first movie where Michael Landon received a starring role. Jack Nicholson was turned down for the lead role because he was the wrong type. Jack Nicholson would play a werewolf 37 years later in the 1994 film Wolf. Dawn Richard, who plays a teenage gymnast in the film, was a 21-year-old Playboy centerfold model at the time, appearing in the magazine's May 1957 issue, which hit the newsstands a month ahead of this movie. This movie was made for just $150,000. The film went on to gross over $2 million during its theatrical release in June 1957. This made it one of the most successful films ever released by American International Pictures. The addition of the song Eeny, Meeny, Miny, Mo with music and lyrics by Jerry Blaine puts this film in the history books as the first horror movie to include a rock and roll song. It was sung and performed by Kenny Miller, making him the first rock and roll performer ever to appear in a horror movie.
Anytime you're feeling sad or blue, you just call me baby and I'll run to you. But if you ever leave me, you're gonna pay $50 alimony every day. So I'll be yours from this day on, but only till your money's gone. Rich girls sure are hard to find, but I'll keep a look until I lose my mind. She's bound to show up eventually, then I'll be rolling in security. But where she's hiding, I don't know, so eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo.
This film started the popular title motif, I Was a Blank. Numerous films, songs, and books have paid homage to this film through their titles. American International Pictures rushed out a number of similar movies in hopes of capitalizing on this movie's success, including I Was a Teenage Frankenstein, Blood of Dracula, and How to Make a Monster. This movie appears in the 1990 ABC television miniseries It, as the film the kids are watching in the movie theater. I was at a Pulp Fiction memorabilia show with my uncle in June 2021 when I came across a poster print of this film along with several other horror movie prints. I hadn't seen this film before, but I noticed it looked like it would be an entertaining movie and a cool horror poster to own. There's no way I could ever own a poster of a movie I've never seen, so I watched the movie right after I bought the poster. I didn't look at who starred in it, and I must have missed the opening credits, because when I saw the kid, I thought, wow, that's a really good-looking guy, and it took me about 6.5 seconds to say, oh shit, no wonder, it's Michael Landon, Little Joe. He does a great job in this film. I enjoyed this movie, and it makes for a fun nostalgic trip for any fans of 1950s horror. I recommend I Was a Teenage Werewolf.